Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Monday Mashup. I mean, week in and week out, we continue to be spoiled by college football, and this week was no different. Absolute bangers of football games. We've got our rebound team. We've got reliable. We got you like that. The fury that Dan Lanning was fired up on Saturday had me fired up, and I know Derek the Duck is happy to be back. And Bama, we got to be reliable was created from the Bama Saban-esque era. It's almost disrespectful now because they are not representing what reliable is supposed to mean whatsoever. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Ladies and gents, we got Cody, the Professor Bush Latte, joining us today, ladies and gents. I like that. Derek the Duck from his hiatus. Of course you're back. Yeah, of course you're back. Welcome back, Ty. And then, of course, Cowboy Ty. Ladies and gents, what another Saturday there we had this past weekend. Some fantastic stuff. Cowboy Ty, what was your biggest takeaway from week 7?
Honestly, the games were phenomenal. My biggest takeaway was Alabama just defense looks atrocious over the last couple of weeks. They can't stop anybody. It's pretty insane to me, but I thought they were going to bounce back. It clearly did not. They should have lost if they could throw the ball with any kind of pulse. They would have lost that game too.
Even Beamer was kind of, I think, ripping the defense up a little bit. They're in quiet shambles. Derek, you had a quiet weekend, yeah?
Yeah, it was a nice, relaxing weekend at home. I just quietly realized that we might as well start clearing out the trophy shelf right now for the Natty. If you all just want to give it to the university, that's cool. I'm with it. But we're back. We're back, baby.
How much was there? A lot of alcohol consumed, or mostly just water? And
I'm gonna be
Water
honest.
and beer?
There
Are you
wasn't a
still
lot of water
drunk?
flowing, man.
Are you
The
still drunk?
lattes were flowing. It might be. It was a big weekend. I can't help it, man. I tried to sleep it off, and here we are.
Cody's like sober. What does I don't even know what that means. So let's dive into reliable Cody. We'll get to you in a minute. I know Cody's fired up. I love this one. The Sarky special. Texas just marches on in, whips out the old slonger, just slaps it across Oklahoma's face. I gotta tell you, I was ecstatic. I took Oklahoma to the 15 points in hopes that it would be absolutely dismantled, and by golly, was it ever? Not to score a touchdown. Oklahoma fans are in absolute shambles. I haven't heard from Jason in 24 hours. I'm tagging him on Twitter. It's
It's not good. Jason is not good right now.
I laugh, but I love him. It's just it was bad, and we had him on our Saturday show. And look, as a Florida fan, we're seeing out things too. But just his delusion that they were going to go in there. This Texas team's not as good as it was fantastic. Texas just did what Texas did. Again, looking like the number 1 team in the country. Well, again, next week they're facing Georgia. We're gonna have another shootout, but they hold on strong. Cowboy Ty, what was your thoughts on this game, big guy?
Yeah, honestly, the first half I was really impressed with the way Oklahoma played, and obviously that Silas running that ball down in the end zone, and that whole game changed right at the end of that half. I think Texas scored on that play, and then they got the ball back and they scored again, and out of nowhere it was 21-3, and it was total domination on the defensive side. I was more shocked that they did not go to Jackson Arnold when they were down by so much because he is the better passer of the two. So I thought that was a terrible mistake. I thought they should have brought in Jackson Arnold and at least see if he could try to get in there. They had no pulse on offense. They couldn't do anything. They were in shambles, and Texas was like number 1 team in the country.
It's weird when you lose your offensive coordinator and Levy to another school. That affects some things, and also your quarterback named Dylan Gabriel, who did win on Saturday. Derek.
Well, see, I'm just kind of confused about this Texas-Oklahoma game because I was a part of that Saturday show, and I was told with great confidence by our Oklahoma guy that Michael Hawkins was the answer. He was held to 148 yards and no touchdowns. And then I was also told that to lock it in, that OU was going to win that game, but they looked absolutely awful. Texas looked like a complete team, both on offense and defense. To be honest, I was most impressed with their defense. Like, they are the real deal. And to be honest, we'll get into Oregon a little bit later, but I think Texas is the number 1 team in the country as we sit right now. And I don't really think anybody can argue that.
We've had some wild takes on this show. Him saying that this team was worse than last year's team and that this defense isn't very good was a crazy one. It does not top when Cody said the Kansas City was absolutely washed and trashed and then go on to win the Super Bowl. That will never be topped. But it was I said it was a hot one, and he like came back at me like I was delusional. I was like in the twilight zone. I'm like, am I crazy? What year is this, Cody? What were your thoughts on that big game, big guy?
Oh boy. So Oklahoma, they ran DG out of town because he wasn't good enough. Jackson Arnold was the answer. They ran their OC out of town. They want him fired like week 4 or 5 after he was scoring 56 points or plus on everybody last year. And you know what? You reap what you sow. This is the bed that you made, and now you have 2 play callers that aren't worth a damn. And I was listening to Jason before this. They want to fire those guys now too. So I mean, what do you want, Oklahoma fans? You guys are more wishy-washy than Florida. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And this is the problem. You cannot start a true freshman in the SEC. I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said it, and everybody says I'm fucking crazy. You can't do it. It's not going to end well. And again, when you go up against Texas, one of the top echelon teams in the SEC now this year, they've been looking, great. Doesn't matter if Arch is in there or Ewers are in there or whoever. They just keep rolling. You depend on a true freshman, and that's what you get. That performance Saturday is exactly what you get.
They look like the real deal. Like I said, over-reliable. I think they fit this slot perfectly. This past Saturday, handing it to Oklahoma. And yes, freshmen do have some struggles. The young quarterback vibes are across the league right now. One of them did have some luck, and actually we'll head into that now on the rebound team because a young starting quarterback did get a W on a phenomenal defensive game, but nothing more than that. This kills me because the rebound team is a team that I despise, that I hate, and I don't know if Josh and Billy made a deal. Maybe Billy was helping out Josh. I don't know what it was, but Tennessee bounces back after losing to Arkansas. Tennessee's lifeline there was hanging on by a thread. This Tennessee team, again, and Florida fans, we're all kind of getting caught up like, oh, it's a top 8 team. This is not a top 10 team, okay? I know they're currently going to stay in the top 10, but they are not a top 10 team. They will lose to Georgia. They'll lose to Alabama. They'll probably drop a few more. They should have lost to Florida last night, just like they lost to Arkansas. It is what it is. They are able to bounce back and get it done. Again, a young quarterback, they've got a lot of things they've got to work out. Can they fix those things? They didn't fix it from the last 2 weeks. This seems to be the same kind of Tennessee team we've seen over the last few years. Ever since Hooker has left, this is the same thing with Joe Milton. They're going to probably win, again, 8 or 9 games, but that's about as much as Tennessee is going to provide. Now, I think they do have a young team, and they'll be able to hopefully come back and see what they can do next year. But big bounce back game. I mean, look, we talk about it before week in and week out, Cody. Good teams find a way to win, and they found a way to win when they shouldn't have. Every statistical category they lost, except the most important one, which was the final score. Ty, what did you think, man?
Man, I felt like this might be the rebound team, but I felt like this game was gifted to them more than they won the game.
Thank you.
I felt like Florida could have been up by 20 at half. It felt that way. Like I felt like they were in that spot. And then they just let Tennessee hang around. Tennessee didn't impress me, but at the end of the game, Dylan Sampson was just grinding it out, and then he took control. And at the end of that fourth quarter and overtime, Dylan Sampson did what he does. That was my breakout guy. He did it, and they ended up winning the game.
Your lineman had a breakout game too. He forced a fumble. You had the edge rusher as well as one of your guys. So good call, Ty. So happy for you, man. Really proud of you. Derek, what are your thoughts on the game, man?
Like when I think of a rebound team, obviously I think of a team that bounces back, and in reality, this was a game where like Tennessee almost convinced me even more so that they're not a top 10 team. I don't know if they're a top 15 team. Kind of like you said, they have some tough games coming up, and I expect those games, they're going to drop those games. And just based off what they've done the past couple of weeks, I think they are going to drop some of these games to, some inferior opponents, if you will. But like you said, they were outgunned in almost every statistical category: first downs, passing yards, total yards, penalty yards, worst third down percentage, like just fluently. And then, Nico, who's all-world talent, going to be a wonderful quarterback as we continue. But this is the second week in a row where he hasn't looked as sharp as Tennessee needs him to look in order for them to reach the goals they want to. So I don't know. I'm putting Tennessee on fraud watch. They have some skill players, but it's just this is 2 weeks in a row where they haven't been able to put it together in either game at any point. So I'm curious to see what happens with these guys moving forward.
Safe to say the Heisman watch is over for Nico. I think if we all have to agree. And the AP poll for Week 8, Tennessee actually dropped to 11 after winning. Navy and Army are in the top 25, and Oregon is sitting there pretty. The number 2 spot right behind Texas. Three teams remain undefeated. Well, Iowa State's undefeated, and so BYU. They're 9-11, but we're not giving them enough love and credit. And Indiana. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to quit talking. Cody, your thoughts?
All right, let's just say this. Billy Napier is gone. I don't care. There's no way he's making the playoffs. He's gone. Let's stop fighting there about that, Gator Nation. Okay, I understand that some of you are a little irritated with me because I said, the players lost that game. You got to make plays. Listen, the offensive line was the Achilles heel that we were worried about, and it is the Achilles heel. They are flat terrible. How many times was a running back like Ball met at the mesh point? Not the line of scrimmage, the mesh point where he gets the ball from Mertz and he's blown up. And George and company are standing around looking and seeing, oh, how'd that guy get through? I don't know. The offensive line is terrible. Play calling is what it is. The jet sweep was open at one point all game, and then they dialed up a blitz right to that side. That's play calling. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But the players got to make some plays to win these games, okay? And then at the end, I say you go for 2. I'm standing on that hill. You go for 2. You have momentum. Tennessee's defense is on the heels. You just scored. Go for 2 in the game. At least if you lose going for 2, you have a little muster about you. You have a little killer instinct about you. You were not going to beat them in OT.
I'm not going to let you get the last word on this. The double overtime, I'll let you have that. I even put it in the Discord because I think someone else tweeted it. Your player argument is outlandish. Even Tyler hopped in before you got here. You were late and said, he goes, that was not on the players, 100% on the coaches. And to your offensive line, the highest rated PFF player on Florida's offense.
I don't care about PFF. I don't give a shit about PFF. Bro, how many times did Jaden Ball get blown up? He got blown up for losses.
81 from a right tackle, Brandon Crenshaw. And then a 72.7 was the second highest rated player, Najee Harris. And then Damian George was in the top 10 as well for our best offensive players. So 3 of our offensive line. So the offensive line not play horrible. We're moving past this. You're look. I'll give you your.
So the run game was electric.
I'll give you the defensive line was still solid, and we're very predictable. When you stack the box, it's not going to be. It's still not easy to run the football. I'm not saying those things, but there's 2 parts to this. I'll give you a point for the 2-point conversion call, but -5 for you keep lashing out on the players. I'm not going to let you have it. I will not.
Hey, big time players make big time plays and big time moments, and we don't have.
No,
we didn't have a guy do that.
Here's my take on that. When you're Florida and you're a 15-point dog and it's 4th and 1 and you run a sweep and you could just man on man, you have to beat the other guy in front of you. That's just my opinion. You got to show some heart and you got to beat the guy in front of you and you got to run a halfback dive. I don't give a damn. Give it to Montrell. Let him run it just like Marshawn Lynch. They run the ball. Seattle would have won a Super Bowl if they just give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. They get too cute. Don't get too cute. Just run the damn ball.
Hey, whose fault was the Pete Carroll call? Whose fault was the Marshawn Lynch call?
Pete Carroll.
Okay, thank you.
Terrible.
Let's go on to the next topic here. We've got you like that. This was the highlight of my night. Gotta be honest with you. This was unbelievable. Look at this face. Look at this face. I mean, the excitement that Dan Lanning showed. What a game. Look, I want to bring this up, and I'm going to pass it to you, Derek, because did you watch the game, Derek? Were you able to? I know you were busy with Vandy, Kentucky, but did you get a chance to see the game?
Yeah, I was able to catch a few of the highlights, so
okay, cool.
I stopped in and caught a couple plays. Yeah,
we talked about this, and I think, look, this was a big game that we had circled this entire season. We've talked about this game, and you go and you get the W. These 2 teams are going to meet again in the Big Ten championship. It's unless Indiana somehow continues to do what they're doing, but I think they might get a little knocked out. But I think these 2 are going to be the 2 best teams. That's my thought so far. These are the best 2 teams in the Big Ten. They're going to see each other. Do you feel like you won too soon if you know that you're going to see them again, or you still take this W? Did Rocket Money find you any subscriptions you forgot about or you paid for twice and didn't realize it? Can you name every single subscription you have? I know I can't name all of mine, and I'm not alone. I just learned that over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. With Rocket Money, I don't have to remember every subscription or worry about forgetting any because I can see them all laid out right in front of me. Look, Rocket Money is fantastic. When you connect all of your accounts, what I enjoy about it is you connect all of your accounts, all of your cards, your bank accounts, etc. It's like, in my eyes, for me, like a little personal accountant. You get a little dashboard, shows you what's coming in and what's going out. And I think money, being educated on your finances, that what is coming in and what is going out is huge, and it allows for you to excel. This is why we were excited to team up with Rocket Money. I think financial education is very important. And unfortunately, it's not taught in schools. I was fortunate enough to have a mom that was very persistent on me learning these things. So I was, able to learn those and handle that. But that is my favorite part. Even with the subscription thing, I think just being able to have like your own personal accountant is what it feels like. It's fantastic when it comes with Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's features. Stop wasting money on the things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. That's rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. rocketmoney.com/hightopsports.
No, I'm going to take this W 10 out of 10 times. And it goes back to last year as well. So you think about the Washington game where early in the year, Oregon lost to Washington. And then, everybody kind of had that same thing where it is really hard to beat a team twice. But then we get back to the Pac-12 championship and unfortunately lost that game as well. So I'm never going to say no to beating an Ohio State team. It's like Oregon came out and they showed us exactly what we needed them to show. Everything kind of fell into place. We talked about on our Saturday morning show, our breakout player for me, it was Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart had the game of his Oregon career to this point, was able to take the top off a defense that was anchored down by a first-round corner. So, that was encouraging to see. Dylan Gabriel looked extremely comfortable for the first time all year. He played a very complete game, took care of the ball well, which is something he didn't do the week before. Oregon's running game was good. They were missing their best defensive linemen, and we were still finding a way to get pressure and, keep Judkins and Henderson at bay for the most part. So it's everything they did. I expect that to translate the rest of the year. Like the games like Michigan, that's going to be a difficult game. The game in Wisconsin, that's one I won't take lightly. And obviously, Washington too. It's when rivalry games, anything happen. But after last night showing, like, there is no reason in the world that the team should lose another regular season game.
I love it. And I love Ryan Day choking another big one. That was what was exciting to me. I think Daddy Dan delivered. And we kind of talked about that. That was something that Dan had. Could he overcome the big one? He's earlier on into his tenure, so some of the big ones that he let go, again, losing to that Washington team, which we ended up seeing was easily one, arguably, top two team, or was the top two team in the country at the time. So it's like, hey, it's like you lost to some kind of some schluff. And to be fair, I mean, that Day lost to Michigan, who won it all. But either way, Ty, what was your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I loved this game. I thought this game had full excitement. And Evan Stewart, great call in the breakout performance because I was watching that kid. That kid was by far his best game I've seen. I think he had 13 catches coming in. I think he had 8 or 9 in that game. But the biggest thing to me was I didn't mind Will Howard running the football there at the end, but you got to have a ticker quicker than that. He waited too long to take off, and then he takes off and he runs too far, slides, tries to get a timeout. If he just takes a little bit of time, at least they have an opportunity to win the game. I don't think he makes it, but hey, like, it would have been exciting to watch. I know Duck didn't want to see it, but I would have liked to see him at least try a kick. I think we might get a chance to see this game again in the championship game. So I'm excited we get to see it again because it was really, really fun to watch.
It should be fun. Yeah, I don't know if I want to ride that ride again if I was a Duck fan. And I keep kind of giving flack to Will Howard. Avery Johnson's he was victorious last night, and now they're both sitting with one loss. So it looks like Kansas State may have pulled out on top here and didn't spend $19 million. Cody?
I'm going to say this, a heck of a win by the Ducks, truly incredible. And they did everything almost perfect. Obviously, the issue with Holden, that you can't have that. You got to, I know, tempers are flaring and everything, but you could have cost your team the game there. So you got to coach that up. That's got to be better. But, they did everything they need to do to beat a good Ohio State team and a good Ohio State defense. I'm going to say this. Everybody keeps saying, hey, you're going to meet them again in the championship. I don't think so. I think Ohio State might get beat one or two more times. They still have to play Penn State. They have to play Nebraska next week after a big emotional loss at Oregon. Now, I know it's at home, but it's at Penn State. That's going to be a whiteout ruckus game. They still have to play Michigan, which they haven't been able to beat them for the last couple of years. And they still have to play Indiana, and Indiana's looking pretty darn good. So you might be playing somebody else out of the East division, like a Penn State or a Michigan or a Indiana instead of Ohio State.
It's a win-win here, because if this does happen and Cody's right, I love that for the Ducks. If it doesn't happen and they do play, I get a great clip that I get to relive over and over again of Cody's hot takes being wrong. It just kind of dawned on me the amount of times you asked for us to purchase PFF ratings, and then you said you don't care about PFF ratings. Like, I am in complete shambles.
PFF is going down.
No,
they're going down. They lost a bunch of.
He's muted. The fact that he I'm in complete awe. Like, you say it doesn't matter, and now it's going downhill. We were using it 3 months ago when we were doing breakdowns. You can't say it's going downhill. It's ridiculous.
It's going downhill when Cody don't like it.
Yeah, it's only when it goes against the Gator agenda. I got you. I know where that goes too, man. I got a homer bias just as well. I get it.
PFF has lost a lot of good internal guys. They are the 247. On 3 is the place to be. Listen, they're just like 247.
Sports channels.
I'm just telling you what's happening. Yeah, they lost a lot of good internal guys. They ain't grinding the film.
You watching Jason? What do we do? This what happened on the Jason's channel. You gotta go watch the Jason's channel. You're drinking to get the tinfoil cap off your head. And Montreal Johnson averaged. Montreal averaged 7 yards a carry before he blew his knee drum out. Okay, so 7.1, and you're telling me he's not getting any rush yards? Get out of here. You're minus 10. You're minus 10. Oh, now you look good. PFF gave him a good score though. Is that cool or no?
The whole line just was sus at times.
PFF was right about that one.
Gotta be able to get a foot.
Let's get to peel it off.
Lately you changed my life.
This is the one that I can't really wrap my mind around. The fandom for Florida fans are fired up that Lane lost. They think that he's losing on purpose to come to Florida, and this is here they are. Here it is.
He tweeted Gator. He tweeted Gator this on his little jog. Maybe a good sign.
Chokes. The guy chokes. He does exactly what Billy does, and we're like, this is the guy that we want. This is exactly what we need. I don't know. It's weird to me. I love me some Lane. Don't get it twisted. But these my always reserves for Lane were this, and I was like, look, this is the year that he's gonna lock it in. It's same old Lane, bro. It's same old. I cannot believe it. Brian Kelly's in shambles, smashing tables after the USC game. I mean, LSU's backs against the wall. They've already written them off, and guess what? Like just a little cockroach they are, right? They're quietly in it. They're right there. This SEC is Vandy's in it. I mean, the thing is wide open. And there was an interview with Jackson Dart just sitting there with his head on, and in his hoodie, and he's like, "Just gotta win it all, I guess. Gotta win out." Guys, they're in shambles there at Ole Miss. I don't know. Talk to me, Ty.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had this game on too. It was a very exciting game. Garrett Nussmeier looks like he might blow it, and then he comes up clutch in the fourth quarter with like 27 seconds left. He throws a touchdown to Aaron Anderson, and then in overtime, Ole Miss gets the ball first. Ole Miss kicks a 57-yarder because of penalties and stuff moving them back, and I was like, oh, they might survive. And then Garrett Nussmeier, who is my favorite quarterback coming out in this NFL draft, he decides to throws an absolute dot on the first play, just the absolute stun Lane Kiffin. And Lane Kiffin does what Lane Kiffin does. He'll win 8 games. They're always overrated. They won't ever be any more. They will never do anything because Lane Kiffin is a choke artist, and he's always an 8-win guy. He's never going to win national titles. So if that's what Florida wants, go get him, Florida. That's all I can tell you.
He gives me a little hypolitis, right? They kind of give me the same
kind
of...
Hey, easy. We'll put the box back on your head. Easy.
Also your favorite quarterback is Garrett Nussmeier. Like, you think you're coming out of this?
I think he is the best pro prospect that no one's talking about.
Coach of, is his son's his dad's an offensive coordinator.
Ty
Good
might
one.
Cowboy Ty might be taking Cody's seat in the NFL draft next year. You keep yelling about PFF shit, little shit. Derek, what you got for me, man?
Dude, Ole Miss is just they're a team that kind of floors me because they came in and they had such high expectations, and the talk all offseason was what they were able to do in the transfer portal and all the talent they had, and they had a Heisman contending quarterbacks in Jackson Dart, and they had X, Y, and Z, and Lane was gonna tie it all together this year. And through the first 3 weeks, it looked to be that way, but it's too again, they have just fallen off again, and I have no idea why. Lane is a great coach in my opinion, but kind of like Tide said, it's just like he's kind of the epitome of mediocrity in a sense, though. He'll win some big games, but at the same time, we play the same song and dance every year where he's losing these games he has no business losing. From a Florida perspective, I get the appeal of wanting him to come into the program. He brings like a fun energy about it. He's a great recruiter, but at the same time, he just on the on-field results in itself, he's suspect as a coach. And I think Ole Miss, they're also in that fraud watch. But with that being said, I think they do have the roster and the talent on that team that they're going to be very dangerous. And they're probably going to play spoiler to somebody a little bit later in the year that is vying for an SEC championship berth or a playoff contention spot.
It reminds me of a conversation I had today. He reminds me of like that first round draft pick wide receiver. CD Lamb this year is a prime example. Super sexy, top 3 pick for some reason. He's flat this year. There's always that guy. There's always a guy that's not sexy. For me right now, it's Terry McLaurin. He's on my team. I try to trade him because he's not sexy and I've got plenty of depth, right? But he's not a sexy wide receiver that you can just be divvying out because the name appeal isn't there, but he's getting it done. CD's not getting it done, but sometimes you'll stick around a little bit longer and you'll hold on to a little bit longer because it is sexy. And that's kind of I feel like where we're at. Cody, go ahead and yell at us why Lane is going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Easy. Well, listen, I've been a Kurt Signetti fan from the word go when we thought that we were going to start this coaching search about 30 minutes into the Miami game. But that's besides the point. Listen, it's concerning, especially when you are looking at a new coach. We have moved on from Billy, obviously, after he cheated on us multiple times and probably gave us an STD. That's besides the point. But this is a problem. When you schedule Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, and then you finally have to play somebody in Kentucky and you're 5 weeks in, you're not battle tested. And then you get rattled. And then after that, you don't know what you have. And this is a problem when you schedule like that. You beat up on a bunch of powder puff teams. You lose to Kentucky. Yeah, you come back against South Carolina after the quarterback gets injured, and then again you go to LSU and you get beat again. And I know that that's a tough place to play at night. It's wild, but hey, at least you got Oklahoma coming to town. You should be able to beat up on them next week.
That's true. That I'm sure Jason will bode well with that one. That should be another fun week for it. Now, for game of the week, I feel like again all these games could have. I mean, the Oregon game could have been that one. Oregon game could have been not all of them, but could have definitely been game of the week. The Kansas State Colorado game was a fantastic one last night, but I had highly doubted that any of you were up to see it, so I didn't bother picking that one. But I know all of us watched Alabama almost get vandied again. My goodness, let's talk about game of the week. This, in a weird way, Beamer kind of fits into this category too. Beamer balls are going to beam. He's going to always do what he's going to do and find a way to lose it. This was the most incredible football game I've watched in a very long time, and just the madness that happened. Alabama looks completely lost. We got DeBoer not wearing his polo like he was supposed to. Bama fans are in shambles. You allow South Carolina to score, miss the 2-point conversion, get the onside kick, and they have to tell you they're kicking an onside kick now. I mean, unbelievable, right? Leave it to the Beamers to get. Of course they get it. 40 seconds left, and it's like the seller's just like, yeah, I'm over it. Like I did what I was supposed to do and completely sold it. But this has been the South Carolina team for the last 3 years. They're a gritty, fun team. Will ruin somebody's day, but when they're on the hill of getting it done, they find a way to choke. And we're learning a lot about, too, this Alabama and what DeBoer can do, too. So we learned a lot in this game. We found out a lot. It was a great game to kick off that noon time because I felt like it was a kind of a weak slate. given it was all backstacked at the end of the night. But this game shaped up to be one of the most exciting ones for the day. What was your takeaways, Ty?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, you don't get a very good noon slate every time. And I looked at the noon slate, I was like, "Well, this is terrible. I'll just watch this Alabama game," and it turned out to be phenomenal. I think Alabama goes out and scores the first round. I'm like, "Yeah, here we go, here we go." And then all of a sudden, I don't know what the hell happened, but they couldn't play defense. They couldn't stop a team that really can't throw the ball that well. And you watch Lenore Sellers, and he throws his ball to Nick Harbor, who's 6'5", and he just goes up, gets the foot down. I'm like, oh, here we go. And we talked about this earlier. You didn't like the call, but I think it's just execution by Sellers. He has to throw that over the top.
2-point
Find the guy in
conversion.
the end. 2 points. Yeah, the 2 points got to find him. And then you're like, oh, my God, they're dead. And then they get the greatest onside kick I've ever seen. It's like a little pooch roll around on the ground. Perfect amount of speed so your guys can get down there. Alabama kicks it around twice. They jump on the ball. I'm like, they're going to lose this game. I said, this is great. I love this. And then they throw a ball, and the lineman catches it and runs and wastes 20 seconds off the clock. And then I'm like, oh, God. And then he throws a Hail Mary to Nick Harbor. They're not on the same page, and the game's over. But my more takeaway is Alabama's defense is a problem. They are not good. And that second best team in the SEC to me is wide open because Georgia also against Mississippi State did not look phenomenal by any stretch of the mean. So I don't know. I'm just very, very excited about that moving forward because I don't know who the second best team is in the SEC.
It's Vandy. It's no question. Cody?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I've watched quite a bit of South Carolina, usually on mute because, golly, if they're at home, the cockle-doodle-doo is terrible. But that's besides the point. This is right South Carolina-esque. They always seem to wake up for big time opponents, and Alabama has lost one of the greatest defensive back coaches and linebacker coaches in the world in Nick Saban. That was a blueprint that he had hands on with those guys, and I'm telling you that DB room and that linebacking core is just not to Bama snuff. And when you lose a generational coach like that, there's going to be some holes. Listen, you're at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer. You got to figure it out and figure it out fast because you won't be there. And I think that was the best hire for them to go get Kalen, but it's not looking good early for him because the expectations at the University of Alabama is national championship or nothing.
Maybe they'll trade with us with Billy. Derek.
Well, first off, I was just going to start preface by saying this was not the game of the week. Sorry about it. We already talked about the game of the week.
What? Sorry, Derek.
This we could have talked about it twice.
He showed up naked. I made him put a shirt on.
Wow, asshole. But anyway, Alabama, man, it's like this Alabama team is not even close to the caliber of the Alabama teams that we've seen over the past 15 to 20 years. It's just like the mentality about it, the demeanor about the team, the how they tackle and just approach the defensive schematics of this is like they look soft, and that's something that we have never seen out of a Bama program. It does make my heart happy that it comes when Kalen DeBoer steps in. Naturally, I hate Kalen DeBoer, so I'm all for the downfall of Alabama and all things Kalen. But this is 2 weeks in a row where they've looked atrocious. They got outgained completely 2 weeks in a row. The D looks bad. The offensive line has struggled, where that's supposed to be one of their areas where they really thought they were going to thrive this year. The run game could not get going once again. I think their leading rusher was Jam Miller with 42 yards. So Alabama has some major, major holes. And it's like the SEC is just like, I don't know how to take the SEC right now because, we have a team like Vandy who beat Alabama, but Alabama doesn't look that great. But then they beat a Georgia, and Georgia also doesn't look that great. So the SEC feels wide open to me. And, I'm not convinced that Texas is going to walk away with this win next week against.
Here we go. Here goes the Big
Georgia.
Ten head. Here we go.
I don't know what to tell you, man. You guys, it just means more in the Big Ten. All right.
That was good.
It does. Yeah. It does. You know what? I was willing to fire my coach after 30 minutes of the Miami game after I thought he was going to be the next Nick Saban. Okay, it does mean more.
I love that when the SEC beats each other up. They're like, oh, maybe they're just not as good this year. But we have to play each other, guys. We don't have bottom feeders like Rutgers and Maryland and Northwestern and Purdue. and Illinois, even though Illinois is ranked, to
I
scurry through.
love that. I love that Duck says it means more in the Big Ten when it's their first year. I mean, that's
Hey, I
just
respect
hilarious.
it.
This is our
Bramble-
conference now, baby.
It's better than FSU. They don't have anything to do with their
It
brain. You
means
guys
less
are,
in the ACC, buddy. That's why we don't care. That's why we don't care. It means less.
you guys are like, no,
Hey,
Dave, like, can we just be
You know the
independent?
best. You know what the best thing is the FSU's not going to have to pay the ACC to get out. ACC's going to kick them out for all that bad football play.
Yeah, right.
Buddy, that's our plan. What are you talking about? That's our plan.
Yeah, okay.
They're
all
like,
right,
watch
yeah,
this,
just like Lane's
87
losing
million
on
my
purpose.
ab.
Yeah, like Lane's
Losing on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. And Cody,
Yeah.
PFF is fine, everybody. Yeah, okay.
They lost some very key internal guys.
Look,
Okay,
he's
look
doubling
it
down.
up.
It's like, hey, listen, the shit was all over it. Hayes tweeted about it. He had a graphic for the guys. He said, I'm flipping my commitment from PFF to UFF. I don't know. Boys and girls, hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, if you're still here, God bless you. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. We'll see you guys next Monday morning live at 9:35. Peace and love, baby.